Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dalescenter NASCAR betting preview ahead of Texas Motor Speedway weekend. I'm your host, Dale Tanhart, and we had a big night on trucks. Now, yeah, we didn't have trucks on Dalescenter. We didn't do Dalescenter on Friday. That's okay. Hopefully, you're in the Dalescenter NASCAR Discord, which is a link below on my YouTube channel here where you can join and see all the exclusive NASCAR betting cards. They're always free. But a lot of times I want to incentivize people joining this Discord. We just hit 1,000 members. Click that link below to ensure that you never miss a bet with specific unit allocations. And it's a big weekend when it comes to betting cards. I'm going to have a betting card for qualifying, Xfinity, and the Cup race on Sunday. It's a triple header weekend, and we had a huge night in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series picking Kyle Busch. Yeah, I know. I can really fucking brag about that one. He was plus 150, plus 140 on the majority of sports books. A win is a win. Picking Nick Sanchez top 5, plus money as well. Max bet, that was a lock of the universe bet. We moved to 6-1 on lock of the universe bets in 2024, and I have one on this program here this Saturday morning. And then we nailed 2 plus money matchups with Corey Heim over Christian Eckes and Ben Rhodes over Grant Enfinger, which you may call it lucky. I call it a pure talent bet at worst. So we had a big night, cleared 9.5 units, and we were due for one in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series because it's been a tough start to the year for me when it comes to trucks, which is typically where I'm rock solid in. That is the Craftsman Truck Series. This year's been a different story. We've been amazing in Cup, improving in Xfinity, and awful in trucks. So getting that big win on Friday night was huge for my bank account, for my 401k, and just for our tracking purposes, and for you as well if you tailed the card in the Dalescenter NASCAR Discord. But it's time to move on here. We've got a full Saturday slate. Enjoy the Masters this weekend. Enjoy UFC 300. I know you're going to lose all your money on those two massive events. We're going to enjoy the shit out of them, but you're going to go broke on them. So I'm going to give you some picks, give you some advice that will mitigate the brokenness that you will receive from UFC and golf. And hell, I don't know, maybe if you, depending on how you allocate your units, maybe NASCAR will make you a richer man or woman this weekend. So let's get right into it. Welcome to the program. Jumping right into the Xfinity Series bets. I've already got my full card ready ahead of the Xfinity Series. Andy's Frozen Custard. Is it the 300, 250? Whatever. Lines, bottom of your screen, courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook. Usually I do DraftKings. I opted to do FanDuel this time because, FanDuel typically has discrepancies relative to other sports books. DraftKings, BetMGM, Canby with BetRivers, ESPN Bet, Caesars. FanDuel is in their own world every single week. And they have made it more fun with their partnership deal with NASCAR. I think they have gotten better. But they still are just so off on so many different wavelengths when it comes to how they value drivers in their odds. I mean, I don't even know how else to put it. They're just off compared to every other sports book. And in this case, it helps us. So odds today, tonight, this morning, whenever you're watching, are courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook because I think there are some discrepancies that can help us out. And the number one discrepancy versus any other sportsbook that has odds out in the Xfinity Series, and this will go away. FanDuel is typically pretty receptive when people start betting on a certain line. They'll move it pretty quickly. Justin Allgaier, 4.5 to 1 to win this race. He's been awesome at the 1.5 miles over the past couple years. Shoulda, coulda, woulda won this race in fall of 2022. Late race caution completely screwed him because he was out of tires, and he ends up getting freight trained on the restart. John Hunter Nemechek goes on to win. Allgaier, I think, finished 5th after leading a lot of laps and having the race in the bag. How many times have we seen that with Justin Allgaier, where he leads a bunch of laps, has the best car, somehow, some way, finds a way to lose? And it's not always his fault. Phoenix, perfect example earlier this year. Had the race won, blows a left rear tire with 2 to go. And it epitomizes what, not all of Justin Allgaier, because he is a winner, and he's talented, and he is one of the front runners in the Xfinity Series year in and year out. But it does epitomize from a betting standpoint the tragedy of betting on Justin Allgaier. Hopefully that doesn't happen this weekend. I think this is the race where it's going to change. This is the race where it's all going to turn around. Justin Allgaier has been awesome at Texas over the years. Like I said, should Shoulda, coulda, woulda won this race fall of 2022. I'm going to keep it simple here. Plus 450 is a bargain. I haven't seen anything more than 3.5 or 4 to 1 all week long. And after practice and qualifying, when he's clearly got one of the cars to beat, now FanDuel puts him at 4.5 to 1. That's crazy. You got to bet this. I'm probably going to have a unit on it, maybe more than a unit once I get done recording, because when I get done recording, I'm going to go bet this, and then honestly, we'll see. It'll probably move. I wouldn't bet this lower than 4 to 1. It's kind of a shitty situation when we look at the outrights because Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, and Chandler Smith, who right now are the front runners in the Xfinity Series, seems like they have the best cars every single week. Whether they get the finishes or not, they're leading the laps, they're running up front, and they're contending for wins week in and week out. They're all 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, and I think one of those three guys will win this race. I got my eyes on Allgaier and Custer, though, because I think that even though Chandler Smith is right there with them, I think Justin Allgaier and that Junior Motorsports program, what they've typically shown at the mile and a halfs, has been awesome, and particularly at Texas Motor Speedway. And when it comes to Cole Custer, lap averages, he's topping in 5 and 10 lap average. Averages, I should say. Cole Custer, I think, has an amazing long-run car. He finished second at Las Vegas earlier this year, which is a mile and a half. And he's got an unbelievable resume at Texas Motor Speedway if you break it down, dating back to his prior Xfinity Series stint back in 2017, 2018. He won this race in 2018. He's run top 5 here. Another guy that shoulda, coulda, woulda run top 5 or top 3 in fall of 2023. Had one bad restart there at the end. Got bumped by Parker Kligerman, with like 6 to go. And one bad restart, you fly off into turn 1, turn 2, and it's like ice if you don't hit your mark, and you'll lose so many positions. That's exactly what happened to Cole Custer. He finished 6th here last fall. Really should have finished like 3rd or competed for the win. So I love Cole Custer at 5 to 1 outright. And if you can get a plus money top 5, which I don't think we'll get, I'm willing to accept something around minus 110, minus 120, maybe minus 130 for a top 5. I think that should be the max play for your Xfinity Series betting card is a Cole Custer top 5. If you look at most of these books, they've got Chandler Smith and Justin Allgaier basically negative minus 200, minus 180, minus 250 across the board for a top 5 finish. I think there's a huge possibility that Cole Custer has a better car than both Justin Allgaier and Chandler Smith, and the books are sitting at around minus 120, minus 140 for a top 5 for Cole Custer. So my plan here, same deal. I'm going to go bet Cole Custer minus 120 for a top 5 courtesy of BetMGM. I've got a kiosk pretty close to me at a local casino. And while BetMGM, we hate it. It's very clunky. The app sucks. That's another book that tends to give us some pretty solid value when it comes to just overall discrepancies relative to other sports books. FanDuel's in their own world, obviously, but BetMGM is a book that I have utilized a lot since 2023 because of said discrepancies. And right now, minus 120, I think is a good enough bet to lay 2 to 3 units down on Cole Custer for a top 5. I'll go and declare it right now. Cole Custer top 5, lock of the universe. My lock of the universe bets are 6 and 1 now in 2024. We're going to go 7 and 1 now because Cole Custer top 5 is a max play, mortal fucking lock. It is a Dale Earnhardt NASCAR approved lock of the universe. And that's my favorite bet for the Xfinity Series, along with an Allgaier outright. Pair the Custer top 5 with a Custer outright. Maybe Riley Herbst sitting at 16 to 1 on DraftKings or BetMGM. That could be a good bet because when I look at lap averages, looks like Ford is pretty good. And when you look at Texas Motor Speedway talking about the Ford program, spring of 2022, they had one Ford in the top 20. The entire top 20. Spring of 2022, they had one Ford. Look at fall of 2022, they have 3 Fords up into the top 12, I think. And then 2023, when they came back here, they had 4 Fords in the top 11. So when you look at the history, it seems like Ford is improving mightily at this particular racetrack. And not just this racetrack. I mean, we saw Riley Herbst late 2023 become extremely fast at the mile and a halfs to actually be able to compete for wins and get a win at Las Vegas, run second at Homestead. They clicked on something, not just with Riley Herbst, but with the Ford program in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And I think that's a huge deal when you look at this weekend. You look at what happened at Vegas. Cole Custer ran second. Riley Herbst ran fifth. Ryan Sieg ran seventh. If Ryan Sieg in his Ford Mustang is running well, and if you look at practice ahead of this weekend, Ryan Sieg in 5-lap averages was third in 5-lap averages. Now look, yeah, we know that doesn't translate to a super long run, which we anticipate we might see. But that's a big indicator that Ford has legitimate speed like they did at Las Vegas. And that takes me to my next bet. You know, I'm on Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, 16-1 outright I think is a decent play. Let's look at Ryan Sieg, 12-1 for a top 5. Now this is on ESPN Bet, this is on BetMGM, and it's on DraftKings. I think this is absolutely worth a play. It's a long shot, but based upon Ryan Sieg's long run speed in practice, and I say long run, I just talked about a 5-lap average, but potential for long run speed, Ryan Sieg at 12-1 for a top 5 is absolutely worth a play for a half unit, 3/4 of a unit. And this is also, when I dug into the data, this has been a great Ryan Sieg racetrack. I want to tell you guys about the information when it comes to Ryan Sieg at Texas Motor Speedway. I actually couldn't believe what I was looking at when it comes to the driver of the number 39, which, by the way, got to remember, Ryan Sieg in that number 39 car has an alliance, a technical alliance with SHR. So essentially they have the same type of engine power. Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, Ryan Sieg, Haley Deegan I think is in that boat as well with AM. But when I look at Ryan Sieg at Texas Motor Speedway, literally just pulling up not driver averages, which is a good tool, but racing reference, also a good tool. Dating back to 2019 at Texas Motor Speedway, when you exclude races where Sieg had a DNF, which is both 2020 races and spring of 2022, every other race since 2018 or 2019, here are his results. 10th, 11th, 14th, 9th, and 11th. Every race over the past 4 years at Texas Motor Speedway where Ryan Sieg was not involved in an accident, had some kind of technical issue where it put him out of the race, he has finished 14th or better. And what did I just say about Las Vegas? Ran 7th at Vegas earlier this year. Talk about Ford improving. How about Ryan Sieg? This is probably statistically one of his best tracks in the schedule. He had good speed in practice. Watch out for that number 39 car. I'm just saying 12-1 for a top 5 I think is a good play. And right alongside him, forget the practice data, forget the qualifying. He's middle of the pack when it comes to just raw speed and lap averages. But Corey Heim and that number 26 Sam Hunt Racing Toyota has been good enough for me to warrant placing some money on a top 5 bet at the same exact price as Ryan Sieg at 12-1. Ladies and gentlemen, 12-1 via DraftKings Sportsbook for Corey Heim. I would bet him down to 10-1 for a top 5. As we've seen at Texas Motor Speedway over the past 3 to 4 years, not just in the Cup Series, not just in trucks, but in the Xfinity Series as well, it has been a shit show most of the time. There's been a lot of crashes, a lot of pileups, and as I mentioned earlier in the program, in turns 1 and 2, if you don't hit your mark just right, 90% of the racetrack is like ice. So we've seen it time and time again where a driver gets up out of the groove, 2 lanes too high, 1 lane too high really, and crashes. I mean, ice, slides up towards the wall, takes himself out, takes out multiple drivers. Sam Mayer did it literally within a handful of laps of the fall 2023 race. He may have done it on lap 2. If you go back and watch that, you may be able to confirm that. But good drivers have crashed out of this race in that very treacherous turn 1, turn 2 corner, and that has created shit shows. I'm not going to sugarcoat it by calling it some, chaos, calamity. No, it's been a shit show in all 3 NASCAR National Series because of the reconfiguration that happened at Texas Motor Speedway in 2017. When you consider that, it makes some long shot top 5s even more formidable, maybe even more valuable when you think there's probably going to be somebody up front that has one of these problems. So when it comes to the Xfinity Series especially, there's a lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, I could see this turning into a survival fest, and survival fests benefit guys that are underdogs when it comes to getting a top 5, getting a top 3, hell, maybe plus money in a head-to-head matchup. Ryan Sieg, Corey Heim, I got my eye on for top 5 bets. And as I said, lock of the universe, top 5, Cole Custer, as I pull up what I have here. Now, the next 2 bets I'm going to tell you were pre-practice, pre-qualifying. I don't know how great I feel about them right now, even though one has closing line value for sure. I got Justin Allgaier over Chandler Smith at plus money for a unit and a half. I can't bet Chandler Smith outright. He's 3-1 every single week. He has 2 wins this year, but they're at shorter tracks. They're at Phoenix and they're at Richmond. I just can't buy that when he hasn't won. We've only had 1.5 miles, and it was Las Vegas. He had a great run and finished 3rd, but I just believe that betting him outright at a track as treacherous as Texas is just not worth it at 2.5 to 1 or 3 to 1. Get Allgaier on FanDuel as quick as you can. I wouldn't bet it below 4 to 1, maybe 3.5 to 1, but 4 to 1 or higher is incredible to get Justin Allgaier. And then Cole Custer, I think, I don't think you're going to be able to get the Allgaier bet for long, but the Cole Custer bet at 5 to 1, I think, will hang around on the majority of sports books. So get that. I'd bet Custer down to 4 to 1 to win this race, but 5 to 1 is pretty damn good. And then my final matchup, I took Jesse Love over Taylor Gray at even money. Yeah, Jesse Love put down a blazer and is on the pole for this race. But when you look at the long run speed, I'm nervous because it looked like Taylor Gray in the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Camry is better on the long run. And what we've seen out of RCR at this type of track, they start off good, they fire off pretty quick, and then they kind of fade in the long run. So I'm actually a little bit nervous about that, but I'm taking that as a pure inexperience play, right? Jesse Love's a rookie, but he's got 8 starts, 7-6 starts under his belt in the Xfinity Series. Taylor Gray has 1 or 2. It's not my favorite play. I don't feel great about it anymore. But that was pre-practice, pre-qualifying. I thought Taylor Gray would unload. Maybe not as quick. Didn't qualify as well as... he qualified 3rd. What am I thinking? He qualified 3rd. Jesse Love qualified 1st. So they're both right there. But Taylor Gray, when you look at the data, looks like he's got better long-run speed. I don't think I would bet this right now. This was a pre-practice, pre-qualifying bet. Just wanted to be transparent on what I have on the board for Xfinity. And just to sum up, one more time. I got Allgaier outright. I got Custer outright. Those will be put in. Cole Custer, top 5 is a lock of the universe. Minus 120. I'd bet up to minus 140 for that. Corey Heim and Ryan Sieg for a top 5. They will both be bet as well. And then Allgaier over Chandler Smith at plus money. And then Jesse Love over Taylor Gray. That's my Xfinity card. The only thing I might add is a Riley Herbst 16 to 1 ticket. Other than that, I'm tapped out on Xfinity. Let's move on. I want to get to Cup qualifying here because I feel pretty good about this. And I feel like with how treacherous has been the word all weekend long, and I've used it a good bit as well when it comes to Texas Motor Speedway, there's been, I don't know if it's treacherous in qualifying as much as it is in the race, but in the Gen 7 era, 2 different qualifying sessions we've had. Bubba Wallace won the pole in one, and Brad Keselowski won the pole in the other. And these are 2 guys that typically, I don't think Brad Keselowski's had another pole in the Gen 7 era. It was here, fall of 2022, and then 2023 was Bubba Wallace, who has been pretty good at qualifying at the 1.5 miles and is coming off of missing the pole by a testicle hair when Kyle Larson beat him at Martinsville. 2311 in particular is who I want to look at. They have been awesome at qualifying at these types of racetracks. As I said, Bubba Wallace got the pole here in 2023. Tyler Reddick, I'd like to bet for the pole, but I kind of have like a hesitance with Tyler Reddick. He didn't qualify well here in 2023. And while I do love Reddick in the race itself, I think he is going to be potentially the best repeat winner over the past, 4 or 5 years. Because when you look at Texas Motor Speedway, last 7 races, 7 different winners. Tyler Reddick was one of them in fall of 2022. I know I said that kind of fucked up. I feel like he has the best chance of repeating at Texas in the Gen 7 era and over the past 4 or 5 years when you look at all the drivers that have won here since 2018, 2019. But when it comes to qualifying, I feel like Reddick messes up all the time. He can never be consistently precise enough to win the pole. So for that reason, I'm not going to bet on Tyler Reddick in Cup qualifying. I'm going to go ahead and get lines up on the bottom of the board here. Bottom of the screen, I should say. As I said, courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook, this is now for the AutoMotive or the AutoTrader ECHOPARK 400. Let me make sure I said that right. I said it backwards. ECHOPARK Automotive 400. Lines at the bottom of your screen, courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook. But I'm talking about qualifying right now, and I got 5 bets. We've kind of been all over the place in qualifying this year. I want to look at this and just make sure I'm correct. I'm looking at my spreadsheet right now and how I've done in qualifying. This is definitely, look, qualifying bets are always a tail cautiously type of deal with me. In Cup qualifying this year, I got Daytona right. We won money in Daytona. We lost money in Phoenix. We lost money in Bristol. We won money in Coda, won money in Richmond, and then lost money in Martinsville when it comes to pole qualifying bets. So we are 50-50, basically. We're 3 for 6 on achieving a profit in Cup qualifying. And the way I just said that, that means we're due this weekend. Just saying. I got 5 guys here for Cup qualifying. I got Bubba Wallace, 7-1. I'd bet down to 6-1 to win the pole. I got Ty Gibbs, who qualified 4th here last fall. Blazing fast all year long. Yeah, they kind of struggled at Martinsville. Don't care. Doesn't mean anything to me when it comes to Texas. Kid's got speed. He's primed to get his first pole and his first win. He's 12-1 to get the pole on Bet Rivers. I'm betting that. Ross Chastain, 16-1. All over the place. I mean, I don't know what to think of Trackhouse, but Ross Chastain is on my radar all weekend long. I don't know why. There's some data to back it up, but this weekend feels like a Ross Chastain just come out of nowhere. Just come out of nowhere and fucking dominate. Like, that's how I feel about Ross Chastain this weekend at Texas. He's 16-1 to win the pole. I think that's worth a bet. Kyle Busch, 20-1 to win the pole. It's been a struggle. It really has. And I've been disappointed because I felt like preseason, one of my favorite picks to win the championship was Kyle Busch. RCR has just been, meltdown mode in the Cup Series. But when you look at the 8 car, 2 Gen 7 races with 2 different drivers, they have qualified in the top 10 in both Texas races. Austin Dillon won here in 2020. And yeah, that was because of strategy, but a win's a win. Tyler Reddick won here in the RCR number 8 in 2022. They've qualified well, and they've ran well at Texas Motor Speedway for the most part. So I'm going to put Kyle Busch there at 20-1 to win the pole. If he qualifies up in the top 10, that 20-1 bet will be worth it. As I said, Texas qualifying has had some parity since 2022, since the beginning of the Gen 7 era. So let's throw Kyle Busch in there. The books are fading him. I don't know if I want to bet him for the race at this point, but for qualifying, I think 20-1 actually is worth it. And then I'm looking at Michael McDowell, 80-1. Qualified 5th here, fall of 2022. I think he qualified 17th, fall of 2023. That doesn't mean a lot to me. What means a lot to me is that Michael McDowell is in a better race car than he's ever been. He's in the best quality race car he's ever had in his entire NASCAR Cup Series career. So, being a Tier 1 Ford program, we've seen some Fords come out here. RFK, front row, like I said, with Michael McDowell in 2022. Joey Logano and Penske. I think SHR has put Chase Briscoe in the top 10 here, and maybe not in qualifying, but in a race, which I'm just going off on a tangent. We're talking about fucking qualifying here, not the race. The parity that we've seen in Cup qualifying is my point here. Michael McDowell is 80-1 to win the pole on Bet Rivers. Yeah, he won the pole at Atlanta. Yeah, he was close to winning the pole at the Daytona 500. Those are super speedway tracks. I don't know if they really resonate at all for this. But with that program that is basically affiliated with Team Penske, we've seen Penske come out here to Texas and qualify well. We've seen Penske qualify well at the mile and a half in general. I'll take a stab at Michael McDowell for a nickel, right? $5, $10, nothing crazy. He's 80-1. Anything you bet will generate a massive payout. I think it's worth a shot. Michael McDowell, 80-1 to go with Kyle Busch at 20-1, Ross Chastain 16-1, Ty Gibbs 12-1, and Bubba Wallace 7-1 to win the pole for the, what's it called? ECHOPARK AUTOTRADER 400. Did I say it backwards again? Let's see. These funny names. ECHOPARK Automotive. I said AutoTrader. ECHOPARK Automotive 400 betting odds. Yeah, good morning, by the way. Get a cup of coffee because I'm trying to load up on caffeine to get the brain fog away. Typically, I don't record these first thing in the morning, so forgive me. Moving on, that's what I got for Cup qualifying. Let's talk about manufacturer props for the Cup Series. This is a strategy that I've talked about here on the program before. It almost worked at Richmond where Kyle Larson was like even money to be the top Chevy. And it's actually a terrible beat what happened. I told you to take all the other Hendrick cars outside of Kyle Larson at Richmond because his short track resume at flat short tracks has been pretty inconsistent over the years. And what happens? Kyle Larson spins from the 4th position. You're like, let's go Chase Elliott or William Byron or Bowman. One of those guys is going to be the top Chevy. And he spins and he keeps his position, and then he gets tires and ends up still being the top Chevy by 1 position over Chase Elliott. So that's a bummer, right? I think the same thing's going to happen this weekend. I think Kyle Larson, you look at the books already, he's already heavily valued as a top Chevy because of his win at Vegas, because of what he typically does on the mile and a halves. Coulda, shoulda, woulda won this Cup race in fall of 2023. Crashed himself on a late race restart battling with Bubba Wallace. They don't care about that crash. They care about the amount of laps led, the amount of time he spends at the front, and just the pure overall driver talent that is Kyle Larson in the NASCAR Cup Series. I think with the amount of parity we've seen at Texas Motor Speedway since the beginning of the Gen 7 era, the amount of shit show crashes that we've seen, not just since the beginning of the Gen 7 era, but since they repaved back in 2017, I think we should employ a similar strategy than what I gave on this program a couple weeks ago for Richmond, which is fade Kyle Larson. And honestly, I'm going to fade Hendrick for top Chevy. Now, I'm not saying put the fucking retirement fund on this. We're not putting the 401k on this bet, or bets, I should say. But this one concept I feel like could be a good idea heading into the weekend. And we'll see how this moves after practice and qualifying. I imagine it's going to stay pretty close. Kyle Larson, you look at DraftKings for a top Chevy bet, is plus 140. This is pretty uniform across the board, as expected. William Byron is 3-1. Chase Elliott is 6.5-1. Those are your 300 guys. They're riding the high from Martinsville. Totally different track type. But when you look at Hendrick Motorsports here, they have not gotten the finishes outside of William Byron's win in 2023. They've been pretty inconsistent at Texas. And when you look at, and I'm talking since the beginning of the Gen 7 era. Now, yeah, you can say shit show, tire meltdown in 2022, whatever. Add in Las Vegas earlier this year, the only other intermediate we've gone to. Alex Bowman struggled. Chase Elliott struggled. William Byron, I think, had a pretty good race car, and he got a garbage bag on the front that relegated him throughout the majority of the race. He ended up finishing 10th, and then Kyle Larson won the race. So outside of Kyle Larson, the other 3 Hendrick cars finished 10th or worse, while someone like Ross Chastain ran up in the top 10, who I love this weekend for whatever reason. I think employing a strategy here where you take Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, and Daniel Suarez, top Chevy. Take all 3 of them. I think this is a good idea to take RCR and Trackhouse because for whatever reason, man, this just feels like a weekend where maybe you see a Hendrick struggle. Maybe not a struggle, but not what they're typically used to, like we saw at Martinsville. Hell, even at Richmond, they were pretty good. RCR and Trackhouse. I feel like this is an opportunity race because when you compare Texas to all the other mile and a halves and the intermediates in the schedule, it always is different. When it comes to results, when it comes to the amount of crashes and craziness, it's just different. And I think part of that is because of the repave and the treacherous turn 1 and 2 that we all keep talking about this weekend. It is important and it matters. And if we get a shit show, it makes me love these 3 guys even more. Trackhouse with Chastain, 7-1. Kyle Busch, 8-1. And Daniel Suarez, 35-1. I think he's 40-1 top Chevy on maybe a Caesars or a BetMGM Check those out. Scan all the books before you bet. But I love the idea of taking all three of those guys top Chevy. We're gonna fade Team Hendrick. And yeah, Kyle Larson could come out here and lead every single fucking lap. But he's so mistake prone. We've seen it over and over again. How many times he makes a mistake, especially in late race moments. He's had an awesome start to the year, but I think he's kind of due for one of those mistakes. And I just can't take plus 140. But because he is plus 140, because he is fringe even money on these top Chevy bets, it gives us an opportunity to find value elsewhere with a Ross Chastain, who we know can just come out and absolutely dominate a race. He did it at Phoenix. He did it at Nashville. He did it at Fontana last year where he didn't win, but he finished third. Just Kyle Busch heroics took over in that one. Late race situation where Kyle Busch won the last race at Fontana. Chastain ended up finishing third in that race after leading 70 million laps. Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, top Chevy. I think this could be a fun bet, fun sweat, and have a legitimate shot at hitting when you consider what Texas is. I'm going to keep it simple there. That's what I like with Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, taking all three of those guys to be top Chevy. And now, the Cup Series bets that I have already placed and logged on the Action Network. That link is below if you want to see all my NASCAR Cup Series bets with specific unit allocations. They are all via the Action Network app. It's free to download. It makes tracking and betting extremely easy, especially when it comes to NASCAR. You can follow me and all the other NASCAR betting experts on that platform. Greg Mathern, RotoDoc, Garage Guy Chase, all knocking it out of the park since 2022, since we've all been on the platform together. So click that link to see all my cup bets with specific unit allocations, unless we have stage bets and qualifying bets. Qualifying bets, I'll post those on Twitter and in the Discord. Already gave them to you here anyway. And stage bets, which I haven't really dabbled into much this year, will also be posted on Twitter and or in the Discord. So what I have for NASCAR Cup Series bets that I've already logged, pre-practice, pre-qualifying, Bubba Wallace 16-1. I don't think you can find 16-1 anymore, but I got a half unit on that, purely based upon what he did here in the fall of 2023. I think this is the track that he's got circled on his list. It's a track type that 2311 excels on, and I just really like the speed that Bubba Wallace has displayed in 2024 at a variety of different racetracks. So when it comes to 2311, this is their bread and butter. Bubba Wallace, I think, will qualify up front. He's my favorite to win the pole. He qualifies up front. He keeps track position. No mistakes on pit road. He's going to be tough to beat. I love the line 16-1. FanDuel right now has 14-1. I would bet down to 14-1 pre-practice, pre-qualifying. Take it while you can. If he qualifies well, you could see him 10-1, 11-1, maybe 8-1 range if he practices well with long run speed to double up his pole lap that I'm hoping for and expecting. Bubba Wallace could be not unbettable, but you're going to lose value if it does happen, how I think and how I hope it will. Ross Chastain, 18-1. This is courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm going to check right now and see if this line is still available. I'm not for sure. Finished second here last fall. Had a top 10 car in 2022 as well. Finished 13th. Tire issues were crazy that race. It's just kind of sort of an anomaly because of the awful tire that Goodyear brought, which Ross Chastain is now 14-1 on DraftKings. I'd bet that. I'd bet 14-1. If you can find 16-1, scan the books and take that. I got 18-1 yesterday on DraftKings Sportsbook. As I said, Ross Chastain could just come out and dominate. We've seen it multiple times in the Gen 7 era. He's won at a variety of different racetracks. This just feels like, as quiet as Ross Chastain has been, this just feels like the track he's going to come out and have a dominating race car. I love Ross Chastain this weekend. And I'm going to have 3 Lock of the Universe bets. I just realized this. 1 for each series. Lock of the Universe, I posted this yesterday on the Action Network app. Ross Chastain top 10 minus 120. I think I'd bet this up to minus 130, minus 140. It's cool if you want to wait for practice and qualifying because, as we've talked about, parity in qualifying could mean that Chastain has a great long run car, but shits the bed in qualifying or just doesn't have a good qualifying setup. He doesn't qualify super well. The books will take track position as an important measurement, and maybe they move Chastain to plus money. So it could be worth waiting on, but I couldn't wait because I have that feeling, right? I've got that feeling he's going to qualify well, he's going to run up front, and you might not be able to see minus 120 after practice and qualifying. But a Ross Chastain top 10 is a Dale Earnhardt NASCAR lock of the universe. We're going to be 8-1 on lock of the universe bets after Sunday afternoon. Can't wait. So that's what I have. Bubba Wallace outright, Ross Chastain outright, and Ross Chastain top 10. Just to get you recapped on the Cup Series bets that I do have. Let's move on. Now, we talk about FanDuel. We got to keep talking about FanDuel because when we see these discrepancies that I love talking about and I emphasize when it comes to scanning the sports books, FanDuel is our best friend because of them having no fucking clue what's going on. Maybe they do, and they're just finding ways to get people to bet. Could be both. Could be one or the other. Really doesn't matter. Just use FanDuel more because of what I've been talking about, what I've been preaching throughout this episode with their discrepancies. I want to talk about a concept that I'm so close to betting this. When I get up and I go bet after this ends, I might stack one more concept here, and I want you guys to hear about it. FanDuel has these top 10 bets. When we talk about Texas being a shit show, what has it created as it has been a shit show? It hasn't created crazy winners like Tyler Reddick and William Byron, 2022 and 2023. Ryan Blaney won the All-Star race. Didn't even mention that yet. Not crazy winners, but in these two mentioned races, it has created some top 10 wild cards, right? You look back at 2022. Brad Keselowski got a top 10, which at that time was crazy because RFK was bad at basically everywhere, but especially the mile and a halves. I wouldn't call him as much as a wild card as I would call Justin Haley, who finished third in a Kaulig car. Chase Briscoe, who finished fifth. He qualified 30th. So you know the books were like, okay, top 10, top 5, all going to be heavy plus money. So Haley, Briscoe both got top 5s fall of 2022. Eric Jones finished sixth. Eric Jones is another guy, even though he won at Darlington, the books constantly probably had him in the same range as a Justin Haley or a Chase Briscoe, and he qualified 27th, which definitely means they did when they saw that he qualified 27th, thought he had no speed at all, and then you get a shit show race, and guess what? You get 3 wild card drivers that finish up in the top 10. Micah McDowell also finished 11th, and Corey LaJoie finished 14th. Ty Dillon finished 15th in the number 77 Spire Chevy, which was a much worse program than they are now. So basically, you had 1, 2, I'm not going to include McDowell here because he qualified 5th, 3, 4, 5. You had 5, I'm assuming at least 5-1 or higher, or I guess technically lower when it comes to an underdog, 5 that finished in the top 16 at Texas in 2022. That's called Texas being a shit show. It creates top 10 opportunities with wildcard drivers. Now let's look at 2023. Same kind of deal. Shit show. Chase Briscoe, who qualified 31st, finished 10th. Ricky Stenhouse, who qualified 24th, finished 9th. And when you look just outside the top 10, Justin Haley in a Kaulig car, 13th. Carson Hocevar in a Legacy car, 16th. So once again, and also, Ty Dillon in that same fucking 77 car finished 19th. Now, 19th is a little far-fetched, but once again, in the top 16, 5 drivers that you know were exponential odds for a top 10. For me, if I'm thinking top 15, top 16, that's so worthy for a driver that's going to be 9-1, 8-1, or higher or lower, whatever you want to call it, for an underdog. That's totally worth it. If I got a guy that's 10-1 for a top 10 and he's running 15th to 16th, he's in the ballpark, to me, that's a good bet. Obviously, it needs to cash, but when you look at these last 2 Texas races, you have 5 total wild card top 10s that have happened that I'm assuming were at least 6-1, 7-1, or greater. So while the winners, the top threes, have not been typically crazy, top tens have when it comes to underdog drivers. So when we look at FanDuel, I got 4 guys that I'm really considering betting all 4 of them for a top 10. And FanDuel has the best value. FanDuel on all 4 of these guys has given us a gift. I'm going to pull this up real quick. I'm going to pray that they don't change by the time I get to the casino. But when you look at top 10s, this is crazy. I'm even going to say this, but I'm going to take Daniel Hemrick for a top 10 at 50 to 1. Daniel Hemrick had a top 20 at Vegas. He's got a lot of experience. He's not a guy that, look, I'm not a big Daniel Hemrick guy. I don't think he's the best driver on planet Earth. I actually think he's very undeserving of a Cup ride, if we're being real. But what is Texas? It is a shit show. Daniel Hemrick proved at a mile and a half, at the only other mile and a half this year, that he could run somewhat competitively. Like I said, got a top 20. To me, that matters. For a guy that's 50 to 1 at a shit show racetrack that boasts top 10 parity in the Gen 7 era, I'm going to sprinkle on that. And I'm talking $5, $10, maybe a quarter of a unit at most. I want to verify that Las Vegas top 20 while I'm sitting here. Yes, Daniel Hemrick finished 19th at Las Vegas. The only other intermediate track that we've raced on in 2024, Daniel Hemrick was semi-competitive. If he is semi-competitive on Sunday at 50 to 1, totally worth it in my book. I'm also going to look at Justin Haley, 40 to 1. Now, they struggled at Las Vegas. They've had several races where they've struggled mightily, and they've had several races where they've had glimpses of pure speed, like their teammates, Brad Keselowski or his teammates, his satellite teammates, Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. We always forget this, but Justin Haley and that Rick Ware Racing number 51 has a technical alliance with RFK. So they've got similar horsepower under that 51. To me, sitting at 40 to 1 for a top 10. He ran 3rd here in 2022. He ran 13th here in 2023. I don't know if it's a Texas thing, if that's a Colleague thing. Maybe it's a Justin Haley thing, and it doesn't really matter. I've seen enough competitive ability out of this 51 already in 2024 to warrant a top 10 bet at 40 to 1. Once again, quarter of a unit at most. The third guy, Zane Smith. Now this, to me, may be worth half a unit. 15 to 1 on FanDuel Sportsbook. Every other book has chopped this all the way down to 5 to 1, 6 to 1. Bet Rivers, Canby books have 9 to 1. Caesars has 8 to 1. FanDuel still has 15 to 1. I think this is a formidable bet. Zane Smith's been good here in the Truck Series. I don't know if you can say that matters because of how bad his 2024 campaign has been to start the year. But I believe in Zane Smith. I believe in Spire. I think Spire, Carson Oatsbar came to Las Vegas, finished 15th. Corey LaJoie's had glimpses of speed. I think Spire has potential here to come out and have top 20 speed with maybe all 3 of their vehicles. So Zane Smith, 15 to 1 top 10, I think could be worth half a unit. And then the final one, we're sticking with the Spire team here. Carson Hocevar finished 15th at Las Vegas. Got his first career win in the Truck Series at Texas last year, this weekend. And FanDuel has him at 8.5 to 1 for a top 10. Every other book has 4 to 1, 4.5 to 1. Caesars has 7 to 1, 8.5 to 1 on FanDuel, plus 850. I might be a psychopath when I say this. I think this is worth a unit. I think Carson Hocevar in his young campaign has shown us enough to make me believe that if you get a little bit of chaos, like we have seen, like I've talked about 70,000 times in 45 minutes on this program, if we see any sort of chaos, it helps a Carson Hocevar. Already in 2024, at different track types, he has proven that he's competitive. At Atlanta, he finished 19th. Vegas, 15th. Phoenix, 15th. Martinsville, 17th. So 4 different track types, 4 very different track types. He has finished in the top 20. For me, that's close enough. And the best one of those finishes was Vegas, where he finished 15th. Carson Osevar, 8.5 to 1 for a top 10, I think is a good play. And I think it could be worth a full unit. Call me crazy. So just to recap that. Man, I might be crazy, but stacking these top 10s, if one of them hits, if you get a complete shit show and one of these hits, you're in for a big profit. One more time. Carson Hocevar for a top 10. Zane Smith for a top 10. Daniel Hemrick for a top 10. And Justin Haley for a top 10. The point here is to bet all 4 of them, and let's hope for a shit show, which I think is very, very possible on Sunday afternoon. Whew, I'm winded. Guys, be sure to follow me, Dale Tanhart, on all social media platforms. Action Network, Twitter, join the Discord, Instagram, TikTok for all the dumb shit. It's not typically betting related, but just follow me just to fucking follow me. I think you'll like what you see. And then, don't forget, it's crazy when I bring this up and I'm tweeting about it and showing my lineups and my stories and on Twitter. GridRival has an awesome new season-long NASCAR fantasy game, and it's free to join the Dale Tanhart official NASCAR Fantasy League. That's a link you can also click below. We've got over 700 players in a league. Winner at the end of the season gets $1,000 cash, courtesy of me and GridRival. It's a really fun concept. GridRival is getting it done in the NASCAR fantasy realm. They've got other stuff too. They've got a pick'em game. They've got daily, Formula One, Netflix betting, whatever you want to call it. Netflix DFS, I should say, not betting. But GridRival is an awesome app that is for racing degenerates like me, like you. And we have a really fun Dale Tanhart approved NASCAR Fantasy League where you can join anytime for free and have a chance to win $1,000 at the end of the year. And what I was saying earlier is I felt like after 5 weeks, if you joined, you'd have no chance of winning. 6 weeks, no chance of winning. Every single week, the way the point scoring is, I literally think you could join right now, and if you were lights out for the rest of the season, you could still win that $1,000. And that's how good the game is. The amount of points you can obtain versus not lose, but just the discrepancy in the top amount of points earned and the lowest amount of points earned really allows for opportunity when it comes to GridRival. Like I said, that link below. All these links right here on the side are below in the YouTube description. Thank you guys for watching Dalescenter. Make sure you're in the Discord to not miss all my betting updates as they come through. You can set notifications just like you can for the Action Network. Those are the 2 big ones. Action Network, Discord. If you follow and join our community on Discord, follow on Action Network, you cannot miss a bet from the greatest NASCAR bettor in the history of the universe. We're going to have a big weekend, hopefully. I don't want to say hopefully. I don't want to jinx it. We're going to have a big weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. We've already had a great start. Let's win some more bets. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy UFC 300. And enjoy the NASCAR racing at Texas Motor Speedway. Good luck, and I'll see you on the other side.